Hey guys, happy Tuesday. I am coming to you again today with your Tuesday, April 7th ELA guided video lesson. Hopefully you didn't have any trouble hopping on over to your assignments yesterday, to do that dolphin practice. And if you ever have any technical difficulties with anything, please reach out to your teacher so we can get those solved to keep you on track with these lessons and activities. All right, so let's jump right in. For this first week of instruction, I've decided I am going to include that daily home learning guide just to make sure you understand what's expected of you. No questions about that. And then starting next week, we'll just jump right into our lessons several at a time. Okay, so let's hop on over. So you see your home learning guide today. We're reviewing main idea again. We're going to do some, instead of going from a book with that graphic organizer like we did yesterday, we're going to jump right into two passages to practice looking at them there, and then you're going to have an independent passage in your activities to practice as well. And then Ms. Ferguson's going to be coming to you with some more money problems, working a little bit more on that today. Okay, so let's dive right in. Okay, so this is a little bit different chart than yesterday. Remember, yesterday we thought about main idea as a puzzle, how we don't want to focus on just certain pieces of the puzzle. We want to focus on the puzzle as a whole, right? So the main idea, like we said, is what the whole story is mainly or mostly about. Look at this stool here. If you've ever had like a three-legged stool before, you can think of the top of the stool that you sit on as the main idea, what the whole story is mostly about, and then the three legs as your supporting details. They tell you more, they match, or just give you more details and more information about that main idea. So remember I told you we would look at different clues today. So some of those clues we're going to look at within our text passages is going to be, we're going to look at the title. We're going to see if there's any pictures, any repeated words or headings throughout the text, and that's going to give us clues. If we're seeing these things and they're kind of all matching up, we can kind of put them together like a puzzle to figure out the main idea. All right, so let's look at this passage of this sloth. Hopefully this makes everyone smile. Look at him, isn't he so cute? All right, so we've got a paragraph here about a sloth, okay? And our paragraph reads, "The sloth spends most of its life in the trees of the rainforest. The three-toed sloth is usually hanging around using its claws to keep it in the trees. Because it's in the trees so much, it has trouble moving on the ground. It is a very slow-moving animal. The sloth eats leaves that it finds in the treetops. The sloth loves spending time in the trees." Okay, so we have a title here, the sloth. We have a picture here of a sloth hanging from a tree. And then we don't have any headings in this paragraph because it's kind of short, but we do have a couple repeated words in here. So some repeated words, I see it spends most of its life in the trees. It's usually hanging to keep itself in the trees because it's in the trees so much. It finds leaves in the treetops. It loves spending time in the trees. That word trees is standing out a lot in my mind. So I'm going to keep that in my brain to think that the sloth in the trees might have something to do with the main idea of it. Okay, so let's look at these three choices here. And we're going to sort whether we think these three choices are, one's going to be our main idea and two are going to be more supporting details. So it says, our first one here says that it's a very slow moving animal. The sloth's a very slow moving animal. The second one says the sloth eats leaves that it finds in the treetops. And the third one says the sloth spends most of its life in the trees. Okay, really quickly, I'm going to jump over to my iPad so we can go back in our story and note some evidence to try to figure this out. So remember, when this happens, this screen right here will freeze, and that's nothing that's wrong with your iPad or your computer. It's just what the program does to make me draw. So I'm going to do a funny face today. Okay, all right, so let's go through and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in my text and find all three of these. So I am going to make, just a second, sorry about that. I'm going to make this first sentence blue. I'll just make it blue because I like blue. So it's a very slow moving animal. I can go back in my text and see right here that it does say it's a very slow moving animal. Well, let's think about it. Was this whole paragraph telling me about how sloths are slow moving animals? I don't think that so. I think that's just one detail that is mentioned in the paragraph. So I'm going to switch now to purple. I'm going to make the second one purple, and it says the sloth eats leaves that it finds in the treetops. All right, I see that right after my blue sentence. The sloth eats leaves that it finds in the treetops. Now, was this whole entire paragraph about a sloth eating leaves? No, not really. It didn't tell me what kind of leaves, how many leaves it eats per day. So I think that was, again, just another detail. And last, I'm going to use my red to find this one. The sloth spends most of its life in the trees. All right, I see that here. The sloth spends most of its life in the trees. And I kind of see something really similar near the bottom. The sloth loves spending time in the trees. This first sentence here and this last one here are kind of similar, and that's going to be important here in a second. So based on what we just read, and like we discussed, we don't think the whole paragraph was about it being a very slow-moving animal. So this might just be one of my supporting details. The second one, the sloth eats leaves that it finds in the treetop, we didn't think the whole paragraph was about that. So again, that's going to be another supporting detail because it does mention both of those things in there. But this last one, the sloth spends most of its time in the trees. It's really important that this is at the beginning of the paragraph. This is called a topic sentence that introduces us to the paragraph and often gives us a big clue to what the whole paragraph is going to be mostly about. So what are some things that the sloth does in the trees? It hangs out using its claws. It moves slow in the trees. It eats leaves in the trees. It loves spending time in the trees. So based on this, we can infer that our main idea, or what the whole paragraph is mostly about, is the sloth spending most of its life in the trees. And then the rest of these details here throughout the paragraph support what it does spending its time in the trees. Okay? So I'm going to bump that off real quick. Okay? And just like we just said before, just another visual for you. This would be our main idea. This would be our first supporting detail, and this would be our second. Because again, remember, the main idea is what the whole paragraph is about. That whole paragraph was about the sloth spending most of its life in the trees, and the two supporting details tell me more about that. They tell me more about its lifespan in the trees. All right, so let's go through now and look at this paragraph about manatees. Okay, manatees are super interesting animals, and I'm going to go back to my recording here to use my pencil. So it is going to freeze this at the top for just a second. Okay, press the button. Sorry about that. All right, here we go. So let's start by just reading the paragraph here. And this is going to be really similar to the one you're going to do in your activities at the end of this lesson. It's going to be on a different topic, but the format's going to be the same. So it says, manatees, also known as sea cows, are marine mammals. It's no coincidence that they're called sea cows because they can be over 12 feet long and weigh up to 1,300 pounds. Manatees are very peaceful mammals. They move slowly. Kind of sounds like those sloths. They spend about half of their day sleeping underwater. Really sounds like sloths. They emerge for air about every 20 minutes. The rest of their time is spent grazing on food. Manatees are herbivores, which means that they only eat plants. They reside in shallow coastal areas with warm, brackish water. Their habitat, paired with their slow-moving nature, puts them at risk for ship strikes. People are working to save this species since they are listed as vulnerable to extinction. All right, so this first one is asking us what's the main idea of the paragraph, and it says to use red. So I'm going to make my marker red here, and we're going to go through and see if we can figure out the main idea. All right, so let's look at A. Choice A says, all about manatees. Well, I can definitely see that the word manatee is repeated a lot throughout this text. It even uses the pronoun they and their for manatees. It tells me how much they weigh, what they spend their days doing, what they eat, where they live. So I'm going to put a question mark here next to all about manatees because that might be our main idea. All right, let's look at B. B says manatees are herbivores. Now, if I go back in my text here towards the end, I did see that they are herbivores. It says manatees are herbivores, which means they only eat plants. Now, that is mentioned in my paragraph, but does that mean it's the main idea? No. If manatees are herbivores was my main idea, the whole entire passage will be telling me more about that. It would be telling more about the plants they eat and where they find them. So I'm going to use my pen here to slash it and trash it. I do not think that B is the best choice here. That's just a detail. All right, what about C? Humans need to save manatees. It does mention in this last sentence here about how people are working to save the manatees. But again, was that what our whole entire paragraph was mostly about? No. Again, we're going to slash it and trash it because that doesn't tell us what the whole entire paragraph was about. And D says that aquatic mammals live in the ocean. Now, aquatic mammals would be dolphins, manatees, whales, and that's not what this whole paragraph was mostly about. We see that it focuses on manatees for the whole paragraph, so we wouldn't say that the whole thing was about aquatic mammals living in the ocean. So we're gonna slash it and trash it, leaving A as our best choice, okay? Now I'm going to switch to orange, and it's really important that you read the directions on this one because it says which details support the main idea of the article. Choose all that apply. So we might be picking more than one on here. So remember that keyword support means that it tells me more or it matches our main idea that we put up here. Okay, so let's go back and look. A says manatees, also known as sea cows, are marine mammals. I see that right here. And does that tell me about manatees? It does. So I'm going to go ahead and circle that one. B says manatees are very peaceful mammals. I can find that back in my text as a detail as well. So I'm going to choose B. C says manatees are herbivores. Yep, we already found that earlier. So that's another supporting detail. And D says that they move slowly. There it is right there. So I can actually choose all four as supporting details that tell me more about my main idea. All right, last one, we're going to switch to yellow. And it asks us which detail could the author add to the passage. So again, the detail here has to match our main idea that we chose in number 1, which was all about manatees. Okay, so let's look at A. A says dolphins live in similar habitats. Well, our main idea is all about manatees. So we wouldn't want to add a detail about dolphins. That doesn't really fit. Slash it and trash it. Oh, goodness, Aspen. Sorry about that. B says that people shouldn't visit aquariums. Now, I don't know about you, but looking back at my text, I don't see anything about aquariums in here. So I don't think that that's going to be a detail that would match our main idea. So we're going to slash and trash that as well. D says sea turtles are another fascinating animal. Well, remember, our whole passage was about what? Manatees. So I don't know that it would be wise to add a detail about sea turtles. That's not going to match our main idea. The last choice says that manatees emit a wide range of sounds used in communication. Well, I'm focusing on manatees again, so I think that that would be the best detail to add to the passage to match our main idea. All right, so now it's your turn. You're going to head on over to your activities on Seesaw, and you're going to see that you've got a passage today that looks just like the manatee one we did, just a different topic. And you're going to read about Malala Yousafzai, and you're going to answer these questions, excuse me, by doing the same thing I just did. When it pulls up on your assignment, you're going to be able to change your color from red to orange to yellow to go back in the story and find me evidence of why you chose what the main idea of paragraph 2 is, excuse me, what the main idea of the entire text is, and then some more details that support the main idea. Again, you're choosing all the details that would apply, so you might choose more than one. All right, so that's all for today. Excuse me. If you have any questions, reach out to your teacher, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye.